Hey guys, I don't know how I could start doing a vlog without talking about the hand I'm famous for, the hand that broke me, the hand that everyone wants to ask me about, none other than the 2010 World Series of Poker main event, Aces versus Jacks hand with Jonathan Duhamel. By far the thing I get asked about the most. You know, it's always funny when I'm sitting at a table and it's just people that even know me by name. They know me. You're the kid with aces, right? You're the kid that lost to Duhamel, right? And it's, you know, it's one of the biggest pots in poker. It's one of the most memorable hands in poker history. It's a massive equity spot. I think I remember reading an article that calculated out the equity of that hand was worth about $3.5 million. It was for probably about 20% of the chips in play. We'll get into the hand, but you know, I think it's a good way to start out this vlog, just talking about the 2010 main event, talking about the 2009 main event, how I broke onto the scene and how I really became known in the poker world back then. Before 2009, solely an online tournament player. I had some big scores online, had a lot of success online, and had built up a reputation, been playing a lot, making a living through playing online poker. 2009, I was 22 years old and made my first appearance at the World Series of Poker. I remember playing prelims and going 0 for, I can't remember how many I played in 2009. 2009, played my first ever WSOP main event, and I was chip leader on day 4. I remember getting up over 1 million chips before the money bubble hit. And fun story, I remember the money bubble, I think this was 2009. The money bubble of 2009, hand for hand play. We played 16 hands, I think, hand for hand, and I won 15 of them. And my table was just like, hated me. I was chip leader of the tournament, had all the chips, won every single hand, most of them pre-flop. I remember I had a guy like 3-bet me. I called with 9-10 and like check shoved a flop and got him to fold an overpair. I was just winning every single hand on the bubble. It was so much fun, and I think I went from like 1 million chips to like 1.6 million in those 16 hands. 2009 main event, ended up finishing 80th, I believe, in classic fashion for myself back then. I believe I 4-bet jammed a 9-9 deuce flop with 10-8, and a guy ended up calling with 2 queens after like a 10-minute tank. Lost a bunch of my stack there, grinded 20 big blinds for a while, and busted in 80th place in the 2009 main event. My first appearance there. Cashed for like 80,000, I think, if I remember right. Had some success after that. Come back in 2010. Second time playing the World Series of Poker. I think I completely bricked every prelim event again. Coming to the main event in 2010, and I just remember exploding on day 4. I don't remember having a monster stack going in there. I can't remember, but I remember day 4, same exact point. After the money bubble, I'm chip leader of the main event again. The exact same time frame as the previous year. I was just, man, looking back then, I was watching a video that like had a compilation of all my hands that were shown on TV. I was just, I don't even think I was that good at poker back then. I wasn't really. I was just gonna bet and raise and try to win every single pot at the table, and people overfolded, and I got away with a lot of shenanigans, and it was like kind of brute force, animal style. I'm going to win, and I'm going to club you and win all the poker hands. So, you know, that was fun, and you know, I had a lot of experience from 2009 having the chip lead. So, you know, there's no bigger adrenaline rush than going deep in the main event, and it's the most fun thing ever in poker, and it's why it's the most exciting thing ever in poker. In any tournament in general, it's just a huge adrenaline rush. But you know, going into the deeper, I have the chip. I had a good stack going into the last day. 27 left. I think I was probably, you know, 6th or 7th in chips. and we get to the hand with Jonathan Duhamel, a big hand. And at this time, I started the hand with 20 million chips, I believe, playing 120,000, 240,000, and Duhamel, I believe, had like 28 million. And we were first and second in chips, and if I wasn't second in chips, I was third in chips by like a small amount. But we were the two biggest stacks. I had direct position on them, and the final two tables are crazy for me because I remember in the final two tables I had aces a couple times, kings once, ace king 2 or 3 times. So I was just picking up hands at the final two tables, and it was like, holy shit, how is this happening? We're getting so many hands deep in the main event. The hand with Duhamel, going into the details of it, Jonathan opens up the cutoff for 550,000. I 3-bet the button to 1.5 million with pocket aces, and Duhamel raises, I think, to 3.9 million. 4 bets to 3.9 million. And I have my first real decision in the hand to flat call or 4-bet or 5-bet. And I remember thinking for a long time at the table, because I actually didn't know whether I wanted a 5-bet or not. I honestly didn't think Duhamel was super strong. I thought he was definitely capable of 4-betting light. Kind of the big chip stack cutoff versus button dynamic. He should have a decent 4-betting range, and he's probably not going to want to 4-bet call off a ton of hands. So I thought if I 5-bet, I was going to get a lot of folds, which is not an awful thing, and probably considering ICM now and knowing that type of stuff, it might be better to 5-bet. If I was out of position, I for sure would 5-bet the aces here. But being in position, the pot's going to be like 9 million chips, and I'm going to have like 15 million back. So the hand's going to play pretty easy post flop considering I have aces. And it's a big difference having aces than kings, because with kings, there's not as many bad flops. Flatting aces here, if I 3-bet a hand like 9-10 suited, I might want to flat with a hand like that. I can have some middling suited connectors type stuff that I peel a 4-bet with here. We peel the 4-bet, flop comes 10-9-7 rainbow. Not that great of a flop, pretty connected. But Duhamel checks to us, and now we have the green light. We're going to turn this into a 2-street hand was my thought process. There's about 9 million in the pot. We got about 15 million back, 16 million back. Bet 5 million on the flop, about half pot, a little over half pot. Pretty coordinated board, so I want to be betting bigger. There's a lot of hands that are able to continue on this flop, and it gives them some room still to check shove, and it sets me up with a very easy turn shove for 11 million. So it's a flop that should hit me pretty well. 10-9-7. I bet 5 million and Duhamel check calls, and now we know he has something. I don't think he's just check calling here with like ace king. I don't think he has like a set or 2 pair type of hand. I mean, maybe pocket tens, but he could easily have a hand like jacks, queens, maybe even something like kings that he's now deciding to pot control a little bit with, maybe induce some bluffs. Turn is a queen, which I'm not very happy about because I think queens are in his range, and he checks, and there's 11 million, there's 20 million in the pot, we got 11 million back. And all I remember, and I remember this very clearly, I took about 20-30 seconds and I said, please don't snap call, because I know if he snap calls, I'm toast. But I have to shove to protect my hand. There's so many bad cards for me on the river. Pot's massive. Just picking up this pot is so huge for me, getting up to 30 million chips without a showdown. So all I remember is saying I'm all in and not hearing the word snap call right away, and that gave me I'm like, all right, good, I know I'm good. And I kind of was thinking, I still think I want him to. After a while, I was like, all right, I want him to call. I have him, in really good shape. If he folds, I'm still chip leader. No matter what, I was like, all right, I'm going to be chip leader. I'm crush. And TV doesn't show this, but I think Duhamel probably tanked for somewhere in the range of 5 to 8 minutes. Minimum 5. It might have even been upwards of 10. This whole hand was probably 15 to 20 minutes long. And it was I remember talking to some reporters afterwards. They were saying they just heard there's this 2 chip leaders are going at it. Got to get over here. Huge pot going on. And when Duhamel finally said I call, I was pretty confident he had a hand like 2 kings. I thought 2 kings was a hand that was very likely at the time. It makes sense if he's just a check call. Like, I have some sets. I'm repping pretty strong here. I don't have many bluffs. So maybe he has a hand like that. I asked if he had 2 kings, and I show aces, and he, you know, I know I'm good before he even turns over his cards. And I mean, when he said a call, I confidently was like, yes, we're good. And then he flips over 2 jacks. I'm like, oh boy, we have to fade. And in the video, you can see, you know, I'm just like crazy. All this emotions going through my head. Wow, this pot's 40 million. I could be the chip leader of the main event. I'm gonna have 2 times as many chips as someone. I'm counting my chickens. I'm like, oh my god, this is great. We're not even at the final table bubble yet. Like, I gotta abuse the bubble. It's just, it's over. Like, this is just, it's all over. And then it comes, the 8 of diamonds on the river, and the dream is over. And all I remember was just pure shock. I remember just thinking, like, my whole thing was just like, it's all like kind of destiny in a way. After, especially getting, once he said call, getting it in way ahead for all the chips, and like, I was chip leader last year, I kind of blew up. I'm back here, I'm gonna redeem myself, and I'm just gonna have all the chips in this tournament. And it's just, in like a matter of that, it was all taken away, and it was the craziest thing. I was 23 at the time, I think, yeah, 23 years old, and I just was, I'd never been in that type of situation before, and I didn't even know how to react. It was all kind of raw emotion there. I was just, it was like, I wanted to win that tournament so bad, and everyone wants to win that tournament. It was just, given what had happened the year before when I was chip leader and kind of had punted off some chips. I'm not saying I played perfectly in 2010. Looking back, I don't even know how good I was at poker back then, but man, the emotion is just like, looking back at the video, I'm just in straight shock, and I don't even know how to act at the table. I'm just standing there. I'm like, do I have to leave? And it's just like, it's absolutely crazy in my head, just everything running through. I get the famous water bottle throw in. I finally let out some emotion as I leave the room, chucking the little miniature water bottle at the wall, and just wanted to get out of there. It was literally just like the world had ended. And it was just all, you know, it doesn't matter if it's a $200 tournament or a $10,000 tournament. Busting a tournament's never fun, and you're always going to be disappointed for a little bit. I remember for this one taking a couple hours up in the hotel room. I remember walking around the Rio afterwards. I remember going around and sitting outside, just on the steps outside the Rio, and it was just like, how did this happen? That was the only thought process. How did this happen? I didn't even know at the time. There's an article, I think it was a PokerStars blog. I didn't know someone had followed me around for like 30 to 40 minutes after that happened, and they recorded every single thing I did. And one of the artists, Affleck, goes outside and he looks up into the sky at a passing plane. And I didn't even know this blogger was following me around for 30 to 40 minutes. So I left the tournament area, didn't do any interviews for a while, came back down a couple hours later and did a bunch of interviews. And it was crazy, and I was just like shell-shocked. Twitter is going crazy. But the nice thing was, I had 100% of myself in that tournament, and the next day when I went to the Rio to get paid out, I got a nice payday. I got a seed money hit my bank account, and, you know, play poker to make money. And after the money hit my bank account, you know, it starts to realize what I accomplished. Twice now, I was chip leader deep in the biggest tournament in the world. The World Championships, I have my first 2 times ever playing it. I finished 80th and 15th out of a combined 15,000 runners. And it was motivation. Who knows what happens if I would have won that hand? Who knows what would happen if I won the tournament? But what I do know is that was after 2010. I graduated school in 2010 before that summer, and I knew I was going to try out poker and see how it went, and to get that instant gratification about 2 months after graduating college and get my big score right away is like such a good confidence boost that I can do this. And 10 years later, we're still doing it. We're still traveling around the country. We're still playing cash games. We're still playing tournaments, and I have made a living, and I have not worked a job in 10 years. I've played professional poker. It is my job. I treat it like a job. I play as a professional, I feel like. And I think this vlog is a new step in that professionalism and creating content for poker fans out there. And I think this is the first time I've really done a public thing about the World Series of Poker hand. I've done some interviews in the past. I always get asked about it. I always get asked about it at the table. And it was kind of, now it's more, I would say, annoying that annoying / motivating that I'm known in poker for losing the biggest hand ever. And I want to be known in poker for being one of the best. I want to be known for being one of the better tournament players in the world, one of the better cash game players, and I'm working really hard in my game. I got a long ways to go, but I am also extremely confident in my game. Work on my game very hard, and I want to be known for the redemption. I want to be known for coming back and winning a massive tournament. This summer, I'm so motivated to win my first bracelet. I got close last year. Last year I got 3rd in a 1500 when I had a lot of chips. We're gonna win a bracelet. We're gonna go deep in the main event again. We're gonna final table a televised WPT. I just finished 7th, which is the bubble of the final table down in Florida at the Seminole Hard Rock. WPT. We're going to have a lot of success coming forward, and we're going to work hard, and we're going to get that success. And a motivating factor is all the close calls I've had in my past in my career and not having the big score. So I use that as motivation now. I use that motivation to work harder, to continue to travel around and play tournaments. I love getting the adrenaline rush deep. And we'll get into the hand against Duhamel, but I think that's a lot of thought processes, a lot of things I think about in poker. I think about how I kind of view my career sometimes, and thanks for watching, and we'll see going forward if we get to reach some of these goals and win a bracelet this summer, go deep in the main event again. So I'll talk to you guys soon.